All right, folks. We got a bit of a thing we're gonna get into. It's kind of a continuation on one of the first podcasts we did. We're gonna talk about cartoons, but
The Tunes.
I've got a bit of a rant. But before I get into that rant, and then we get into the cartoons, I gotta say this is a pretty good suggestion, Jimmy. It's pretty crisp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Not
the
bad.
vodka. You say vodka tonic?
Oh, vodka club soda.
Vodka soda. Boom. Bosh. Pretty good. Yeah, before we were doing the gin and tonics, and it was like, I don't think either one of us was particularly concerned about our health, but I was like, man, this has got to be healthy. No, we were just making hobo Sprite. We were making hobo Sprite and then putting gin in it. And then the fucking dogs. Really? 10 seconds in.
He knows what you're doing. He's
I know.
looking right at you, too.
Fuck that dog.
Yeah. You go to hell, Exxon.
Mm.
You go to hell.
But no, the other the other thing I was talking about, man, I go to a lot of different places throughout my work day, and a lot of the time I'm passing by, a country store or this or that. But man, you know what I've noticed the most in the city? You go to a store, man, and I get a guilt trip about it. Even when I go to a place that I know, like I can go to a McDonald's and it's like, oh man, I got to use the restroom, but I'm not going to just go and use their facilities and then, not get like a McMuffin or something. But the opposite happens too. I went into 4 different 7-Elevens in Richmond today. Went in with every intention of going and using the bathroom, buying a pack of smokes, buying a soda, buying a taquito, whatever, to justify me using their bathroom. No restrooms, turn right back around.
Yeah, you roll the dice with 7-Eleven.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I don't know if it's the way they're built with some of them, because there's some different ones, or they're also franchises, so it depends on the
They're
owner.
not built like anything. Those employees work there for an 8-hour day, and they've got to piss or shit. They use those bathrooms. You know why they put that sign up? Because they don't want to do their fucking job. Hey, I know it sucks. People suck. People piss on the toilet seats. Sometimes people do worse than that. But it's like, hey, I know it sucks. As somebody who's had to clean bathrooms, I get it. It sucks. But if you're going to close down the bathroom, it's like, hey, no shirt, no shoes, no service. All right, hey, you know what? No restrooms. No patronage. I will walk right out of those places. And I suggest anybody who sees anything like that, boycott those particular establishments.
But a lot of time with 7-Elevens, because they're franchises, the owners give the green light.
Exactly.
A lot of time they're working in there, and they don't want to mess with it.
And do you know what would change the owner's minds?
What's that?
Walking in, whether you have to use the restroom or not, looking at the restroom, and if it says no restrooms, you just walk out.
True.
Me,
I
I'm just
agree.
one guy. They can be like, fuck that guy. Who cares if he's not going to use our restroom? You know what? We're going to get 3,000 customers in here today. But if enough people know about it, hey, you know what? You're supposed to provide a service. It's not like, what would you do if it was just like, what would you do if you needed gas and you went to a 7-Eleven and you're like, no gas, sorry. Gas is for employees only. You'd be like, fuck you, 7-Eleven. I'm going to go to Wawa or any other place. That's what you would do. Anyways, that's my particular rant for the day on that particular subject. And that vodka soda is pretty good. But we were going to get into cartoons again because, once again, throughout my travels, I get large spans of time where I get to... I'm not watching YouTube while I drive. But I will listen to YouTube as, let's say, an audiobook. And we did a podcast on cartoons, and I was listening to a lot of like whatever happened to this and the rise and fall of that. And the one that I wanted to start off with right from the beginning, because you have a little bit more information on this just from, I mean, we're both big fans of Ren and Stimpy, but you seem to have a lot more insider information on it than I did. And there was some things that I was like, man, I wonder if Jimmy knows this. and it was the rise and fall of Ren and Stimpy, and obviously there was the stuff in the beginning, where he worked for what was it? I think he worked for Hanna-Barbera and stuff like that in the beginning, or was it?
No,
it wasn't
Hanna-Barbera. He worked for Deke at the beginning.
Okay.
There was a new Mighty Mouse cartoon that came out in the 80s, which obviously now I've found it on YouTube and read about it and stuff, but I vaguely remember it. I was so fucking little though. But then looking back on it, when I looked at the art, I was like, it's clearly his fucking style a little bit in there. But he was with that place at first because Ralph Bakshi. I'm sure you're familiar with Ralph Bakshi.
The cat.
Oh yeah, one of it. But he kind of took him on because he was involved with that, and that's how he got involved with Deke.
Oh, okay. But yeah, he got his.
If I remember correctly. But yes.
He got his foot in the door, and was working on particular animations, just seeing, I guess, the process from beginning to end.
Real quick, we bring up cartoons sometimes. Ralph Bakshi, one we need to come back to sometimes.
I would like to.
That's a whole nother story altogether.
Yeah, we could do an, like we were talking about doing many of these cartoon episodes. And, I don't even know why I didn't think about, I didn't do enough studying on it in my travels today. But yeah, we could do one just on Ralph Bakshi and the type of art that he did that inspired John Kay to do the art that he did. But yeah, it's like, he got his foot in the door, and these characters, Ren and Stimpy, were like some of his first characters that he had drawn, and he had shown, like, he had pitched like a bunch of different ideas to the studio executives at the time. I can't remember if it was only Nickelodeon or it was everybody, probably everybody.
There was a group, but there was a lady in particular who ran Nickelodeon at the time.
I can't remember. Dude, she was the only person in his corner for the
always
longest time, and I can't remember her damn name. Yep. Did you want to try and look up her name?
If you give us some more information, I might be able to find it in this book I got here. But
okay. Yeah, she was one of the head execs at Nickelodeon, and she didn't really. I believe this was the same lady. She didn't really like a lot of his ideas, but she was intrigued by
that
Ren
drawing.
And Stimpy.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it went on from there.
I gotta say, I feel like I've heard the story from musicians and other artists, other cartoonists. They're pitching different ideas, and they have ones that they have at their forefront. They're ones they think they're the best, and then there's something in the back pocket or something they forget's there in their portfolio or their book or whatever, and that's what ends up drawing everybody in.
And isn't that kind of that is a strange thing that it happens. It probably happens in a lot of different types of media, but in entertainment in general, you have this idea, right? It's like your best idea. You think it's your silver bullet, right? And you shoot it at the execs, and then they swat it down. And then they see this thing that you just like, whatever, man, that was like a doodle. That was a poem that I wrote one time when a girl broke up with me. They're like, no. That's the cartoon. That's the song. That's the movie. That's the book. And then it ends up being a great work of art. It's very strange how that happens. These things that you put on the back burner.
Got to add real quick also before Ren and Stimpy, and I think this was also Deke, Beanie and Cecil. I've never seen
that was I think that was one of the first things he was doing with the guy who did the voice of Stimpy.
Billy West.
I think that
who
was
eventually ended up doing both of them.
Is that how he got with Billy West? I can't remember exactly.
I can't remember. It'd be a little bit to go through. It's been a little while since I've read this book.
But it was just funny because this particular documentary, and it's one of those things where it's like, why are we gonna listen to two fucking jerk offs on a microphone? And I wish I could remember the name of the guy who did the documentary. But there's, like you said, there's so many different people who did like YouTube backstories. You've got John. That's John Kay's book right there, yeah.
No, it's unauthorized.
Oh, okay.
But it's got a lot of good stuff. It was It's
What's the name of that book?
The book's in it called "Sick Little Monkeys," unauthorized Ren and Stimpy. It's a dude. His name is Cab. I'm probably gonna fuck this up. Komorowski. Pretty close to Kowalski.
Komorowski. That's what it looks like.
But yeah,
hold on. Show me again. Komorowski. Komorowski.
But the lady at Nickelodeon, hold on, I had her right here.
I want to say it was something with a K, maybe a C, Catherine or something. I can't remember. But anyways, it was,
I believe Vanessa Coffey, I think, might have been her. There was a couple of them that had his back when everybody else was like, this motherfucker's crazy. Yeah, well, and he was. And the thing was that it was like, there were artists at the time who were like, in the beginning it was like, okay, he was kind of a slave driver, but then they saw an improvement in their art based on his just heavy criticism of the work. He had final say on every frame, every scene. He had final say. And that's why, the cartoon itself, fell behind schedule and the advertisers were getting upset and, but and this is going to go into some of the other things that I was talking to you about earlier. I think it was costing the network, Nickelodeon, $400,000 an episode or something. And I mean, that's a lot of money, but when you hear about some of the other cartoons that I'm going to talk about, and they talk about higher numbers, not much higher, but higher numbers, and then they say that, for 400,000, that's a lot for one network, where 600,000 is very cheap for another network. It's very weird. And once again, there's the whole thing. There's this balance with advertising and viewership and all that stuff. And we're getting into a lot of like the mathematical, nerd shit that probably nobody really wants to hear about. But it was very interesting to know like the kind of the behind the scenes stuff, because apparently at the time it was like 3 shows. There was Rugrats, Doug, Ren and Stimpy. Yep.
So apparently at the time, the FCC was really pushing, and I don't know if this was in animation in general or just broadcasting as a whole, but they wanted children's shows to kind of promote like a positive message that would promote cognitive growth, Enough of Bugs Bunny smashing Elmer Fudd in the head with a shovel or shooting Daffy Duck in the face with a double barrel. They wanted it to be
Bugs Bunny putting his finger in the barrel and then
yes, very stupid things. And you know what, you don't hear about that. And if you want to make a small jump from Ren and Stimpy and the silliness of that to the old Warner Brothers cartoons and the silliness there. Okay, here's the prime example. Beavis and Butthead, MTV. What was the main thing that, like, one of their main controversies? Some fucking kid in a trailer park burned down the trailer, and then the mother and father tried to say that their kid learned how to burn down a trailer by watching Beavis and Butthead. And then a neighbor was like, those motherfuckers didn't have cable. There's no way they watched that show,
But dude, they took that episode off. There was an episode where they went over to Stewart's house and they had a gas oven, and those dumbasses were smelling the gas and everything, and then opened the oven and lit the fucking lighter up and blew the fucking house up. After that shit happened, they pulled that episode out.
But you know what I've never heard? And maybe Warner Brothers or Hanna-Barbera or whoever swept that shit under the rug. But did you ever hear about a kid who got his fucking fingers blown off because he stuck it in his granddaddy's 12-gauge double barrel? Did that ever happen? Were kids smarter back then Did they not watch cartoons as much? Because most of the time, cartoons in the beginning of the true golden era of cartoons were really just kind of intermissions between movies. What happened?
I was going to say, I think a lot of adults enjoyed those cartoons also.
They enjoyed it, but they didn't admit it.
Yeah. It's for kids.
It's for kids, see?
Good stuff.
But no, it was very interesting.
That goddamn Pepe Le Pew, he's such a misogynist.
But it was very interesting seeing these like rise and fall things. And if anybody wants, I don't want to get into all the darkness of the John K. iceberg.
No, and I don't want to. And I know we're gonna switch up because that could totally get one. But I gotta say, one of the things that held that motherfucker afloat is he did have a few core people around him, which I'm sure they got into other shit. But they had a certain style and a way of doing things that helped keep things afloat. And during that show, obviously John K. was a big one, but there was. I'll throw two names out that I remember off the top of my head was Bob Camp and another dude, Billy West. Who he ended up doing writing and other stuff, but Billy West did a lot of the crazy background art and everything, or some of the stills,
Yeah, but
he was surrounded by very talented people.
There was that, and once again, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing track here, but the beginning thing that I was talking about with the FCC, on the one hand, you had a show like Doug, and you had a show like Rugrats that was very kid-friendly, and it was very kid-friendly. They were very entertaining shows. I loved watching those shows as a kid. Even into my, mid-teens. I would watch episodes of Rugrats just sitting there watching it. It was an entertaining show. But then you had Ren and Stimpy, just wacky, zany, gross. And every once in a while, you would see that, Ren cared about Stimpy in a very violent way, but he did. And Stimpy obviously cared about Ren. There was some teachable moments there,
yes,
if you could pick them out of the crazy grossness that was Nickelodeon at the time.
But you bring out what they were being shown along with because they were brought out as a package deal, and I thought it worked perfect, man. It was that was very different at the time. A lot of animation at that time, mainstream stuff you saw, a lot of the shit was the same generic shit. This is where you had three shows that was they were all totally different. All the art was totally different. That stood out to me. And you saw what happened afterwards, all the different type of... Eventually, sometimes you get those formulas. There'd be a popular one, and a lot of people would try to copy certain things.
Oh, yeah, dude.
But there was...
Are you talking about the super detailed close-up stills?
Well, it's not just that, just a style of animation.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like in terms of style, I thought there was a period of time after Rocko's Modern Life came out, which I believe was the fourth one, after those main three, a lot of shows seem to copy that style of animation, even though that one doesn't get as much attention. But I feel like that was a really good cartoon from that period also.
You're talking about Rocko's Modern Life?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, dude. That was one of my favorites. Of all the Nicktoons, Rocko's Modern Life is probably my favorite.
And then look at Rugrats, which Rugrats was weird. And I think you had said something about something you would listen to about it. I thought it was odd. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it seemed like they had a handful of episodes, but it seemed like they went several years before they ever even made new episodes again. They just had a few seasons they replayed all the time, even though they ended up getting a fucking a movie or two, I believe.
If you're talking about Rugrats specifically,
mm-hmm.
I didn't get into all the seasons on it, but there's also another thing that I learned about this, in the entertainment industry, right? The amount of episodes you're given off the bat after your pilot shows the faith that a network has in your show, right? So if you have a show that's kind of experimental, kind of zany,
yeah,
and the network likes it, but they're not sure about it, they'll give you like a 7-episode, 1-season deal, right? And after those 7 episodes, if your product can sell products for their network, they'll give you more episodes afterwards. If you have a product and they immediately give you like 21 episodes, like they have faith in that particular format, and it's like, okay, you're doing pretty good, right? Now, it doesn't mean after those 21 episodes, you're gonna, anybody can, fuck shit up with production mistakes and prima donna voice actors. This is just animation, or just prima donna actors and directors and blah 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 blah. But and that's another weird thing too. That's one of those things I remember as a kid, because I would watch reruns and reruns and reruns and reruns. And yeah, I mean, I never really watched. Who do you know a person who was, when you were growing up, who was like, oh man, I gotta get home, man, I gotta get my math homework done, and I gotta watch that new episode of Rugrats?
No. But I remember catching it on the weekend. Simpsons, yes.
Yeah, because you knew when The Simpsons was going to be on. The Simpsons would be on like 6 or 7 o'clock Monday. The new episode was coming on. And then, yeah, I mean, after they got about 20 years into it, they basically were just airing Simpsons episodes from 6 to 7 o'clock. And then the new episode would come on Monday, and you would watch it. And then after The Simpsons kind of lost its, flavor, it was Family Guy or South Park or Futurama. We were talking about this. But, yeah, I mean, there were, some of these people, Klasky Ksupo Productions or whatever, they kind of, some of their stuff kind of, fizzled out into obscurity, but it did open the door for new people to come up with new edgy content.
You say that, but I think they had two. I mean, there was two. At least maybe it's just me, but I feel like Rugrats and Duckman are pretty well remembered by people that like and respect animation.
Oh yes, yes, definitely. But how many seasons were there of Duckman?
3 or 4, I think.
There were 4 seasons, but technically there were 2 seasons. And then the 3rd and 4th season were actually just the 3rd season broke up into 2 different parts. So technically there was a season 3 and then a season 3.5. But once again, you don't pay attention to that kind of stuff because it was just whatever, man. You just watch them reruns until USA
That's kind of weird. That's kind of like how Toxic Avenger 2 and 3 are essentially the same movie, because Lloyd Kaufman had like 5 hours of footage. I couldn't imagine. And then just did the little shit and did the 3rd movie.
That's you know what? And that happens with a lot of media. Happened with Evil Dead. Evil Dead 1 and 2. Pretty much the same. Yeah. Like what happened with Evil Dead 2. Though. Yeah, we had a bigger budget, so we redid the first one. Doom 3, the video game, Doom 3 was basically just a reimagining of Doom 1. That happens a lot. You get a bigger budget, and the technology improves. And
if that's what that is, that's one of those times where a remake is totally justified and worth it, because that game looked amazing and shit. And
yeah. But then I mean, like going back to the Duckman stuff.
Yeah.
There was some interesting things about that, because I knew Duckman was based on a comic, but I never read the comic.
Oh, neither did I.
Yeah, dude, it was. Yeah, I mean, Duckman was based on a comic before it became a TV show.
I didn't realize.
So yeah, it was a comic, then it was a TV show, then the TV show went away, and then it went back into being a comic, and they actually made a video game, a Duckman video game, and you'd be surprised how many like cartoon shows that only lasted like a season got a video game,
like Real Monsters
or Tailspin.
That was only 1 season?
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
Apparently.
I was never a big Tailspin
I know, right?
I was more DuckTales. I was surprised when Chippendale Rescue Rangers only had like 2 seasons.
It's weird. These cartoons that we remember, and they're so vivid in our memories, and it was just because they kept pumping out those reruns. Just sit in front of the TV, eat your fucking Cheerios, eat your Fruit Loops, get your Fruit Loop whistle, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and just sit there in front of the TV, consume, consume, consume. Now, that sounds negative. I really did like the commercials. I really did like Fruit Loops, and I really did like that Toucan Sam whistle.
Nice. They were really good at luring us in with some dumbass shit with cereal commercials. They treat that shit like mini cartoons, like to be continued. And then when are they going to put that other commercial out of this fucking shit so we find out what happens?
Dude.
Like Lucky Charms or some shit.
You know what? And, it's kind of funny. There's 3 different cereals that I'm surprised never got their own cartoons. And I'm going to say the 3, and you're going to be like, well, yeah, of course. I'll start with the least, maybe the most obscure one, Cookie Crisp.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the fucking
when
dogs?
they had the cop, the burglar, and then there was the dog. I remember mainly the 3 together.
I thought it was a cop and going after 2 burglar dogs, but maybe it was a cop and a burglar and a dog.
Yeah, it was like that with the early ones.
And then, of course, the Trix Rabbit. And then, of course, you've got Lucky Charms. Do you remember what was it? Honeycombs? Every single cereal commercial was like, we need a protagonist that's trying to protect our cereal. And then we need an antagonist that's trying to steal it for the kids.
Some of those that you just mentioned kind of made it into one-offs. I don't know if you remember the video for Green Jello's Serial Killer.
No.
And they did an animated Toucan Sam going up to the Trix Rabbit. Dude's all like, "Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids." And I think there's something that happens to the rabbit, Green Jello. And then, of course, some of those characters were brought into Robot Chicken at one point. That was a good one.
And that's another funny one, because just going off, I mean, we're we've mostly been talking about Nickelodeon cartoons, but some of the they were airing Ren and Stimpy cartoons on MTV at the same time. Like, they were airing Ren and Stimpy on MTV at night.
Yep.
With the Max, the Head, Eon Flux, all that shit.
Yeah, MTV had their own animation blocks. You could almost say the early to mid 90s, there was some solid, crazy shit for kids and stuff for adults and teenagers.
Oh,
I watched it all when I was a kid. I loved all that shit.
But you mentioned the claymation.
Yeah.
Celebrity Deathmatch.
Oh, I remember that one.
That was a Cartoon Sushi. That started off on Cartoon Sushi, I believe. I think the first one was Marilyn Manson versus Charlie Manson.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, of course, dude, I remember, my dad and every other dude who was interested in football at the time in 1998. You know what? I can't tell you what 2 teams played each other in 1998. But I do believe Marilyn Manson went up against the Hanson threesome in Death Bowl 98. I don't think that was really what it was, but I do remember wanting to see Death Bowl 98 for Deathmatch.
I don't remember who he was fighting. It might have been Jimi Hendrix that he was fighting, but they had a celebrity death match where Jerry Garcia was fighting somebody, and there is a random point where he just starts staring at his hand. Of course, he's tripping, and so there's a bunch of crazy, claymation. He's doing the head tilt with the smile like a dog. That's how it was. I like me some Jerry Garcia. But
Jim Carrey versus Mariah Carey. This is fucking stupid. Alanis Morissette versus Jewel. Oh, hey, Jewel. Nice shoes. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Those are just your feet. And then it closes up on her feet. They're all fucking dirty. Yeah, dude. Just crazy nonsense, man. But it was hilarious. And the stuff that they got away with, the violence that they got away with because it was claymation.
Well, claymation, but you bring, I mean, back to some of the earlier shit. You remember we talked about before, Aeon Flux. That show was violent, but it never. Did you ever see the early one when it was on Liquid Television as like a one-off? There's like no actual dialogue, from what I understand.
No, and
it is like, at least at that time, maybe I'd rewatch it again. It'd be like, but I mean, the amount of blood, the way people died, the weird shit with tongues.
I just remember an episode where Aeon Flux like walks up to this big fucking fat dude who looks like fucking Krang from Ninja Turtles, and she puts this weird like key thing up to his chest and unlocks it. And then like opens up his chest and then like crawls inside of him. And it's like, and then like when she crawls inside of him, it's like this completely different dimension, like where it's like a wide hallway. Like that's the main thing I remember from that show. I don't remember a whole lot from that. That wasn't a show that interested me as much as a kid.
When the actual show was out, it was actually kind of disappointing. If you can ever find it, watch when it was on Liquid Television. It was, and it took up like, it was probably 15 minutes of the 30-minute show. Whereas usually it's like a couple minutes.
Dude, the animation
really
is crazy.
But even the animation quality, I felt like went down from, like they put so much into that one-off. And like I said, there was no talking at the time, which made it interesting.
That's one of those things that can happen, man. You have this thing. It's a labor of love. You pour your heart and soul into this 15-minute sketch to you, and you want it to go further. And then you throw it out there to the executives, and they're like, we love it. We want a half hour. Actually, we don't want a half hour. We want 22 minutes. We want 22 minutes exactly, because you have to, whatever storyline you want, it has to fit within a 22-minute format, because we're going to put commercials in it. So then you need to tell your story from beginning to end, and then maybe even connecting it to the next episode. But it's like, where do you end it in that 22-minute time frame to where it's going to make sense, on the next episode?
Well, with that show, weird. I believe they continued every episode. I think it was. Well, yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like with Duckman, they wanted to take stuff from the comics, and dude, like they were animating 30 minutes of animation, and then having to cut it down to 22 minutes every single time. It's weird, to try and explain it. I mean, and most of the Duckman episodes, it's not like you watched episode 1 and then episode 2 connected to episode 1, but you wanted to tell this 30-minute long story, and you had to compress it into 22 minutes because you had to put commercials in there and you had to do all this other bullshit. So,
dude, it's weird how that works, especially with the comic thing,
Oh yeah.
And you know what? It also makes sense because, like, you were telling me also, I guess something you were watching earlier mentioned the Max around that time.
Yeah.
period.
Oh yeah.
Also based on a comic, but I remember watching that because I love I have a bunch of the comic books still. You go back and watch that season of the Max and then go through the comic books. It's really only like a handful of issues for that whole fucking season.
Yeah, and once again, it's like, the very first time you're reading a comic book, right? You're looking at the dialogue, you're absorbing the images, right? That's the first time. How long do you think it would take you to read an issue of a comic book? 35, 40 minutes, maybe an hour, just to enjoy the artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the first time you watched it. Now put it for TV. You've already read the comic book 2 or 3 times. You're reading it. You're looking at it. It's like, okay, yeah. Santa killers, flames going around him, spits over his shoulder, not enough guns, super badass, boom, 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 boom. You know, how long does that take you? Who knows? It's different for every person, but it's
that's why with that book they'd have to be ready and have. You'd almost need a season for a trade.
Well, okay. Well, here's a perfect example. If I was reading that panel, if I was reading that page, you see him. It's the Santa killers. They drop the nuclear bomb. Flames are all around him. He spits over his shoulder. Not enough gun. Badass scene, right? I just explained it in 3 seconds. But if you want to capture that scene in motion, man, that's at least 30 or 40 seconds just with him standing in the nuclear fire. Doesn't count the fucking jets coming in and probably extra dialogue you're going to have with the guy in the cockpit, blah, 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 you know, all that shit, and the tanks rolling in, you know. So you look at this panel, and it's like, I can get through this in 10 seconds if I speed read it. But to turn it into a scene, that 10-second panel is like 15 minutes if you really wanted it to be fucking awesome, which it is.
And that's awesome, but that's one that would need to be done right. You're bringing up a specific story, and we've also discussed,
yeah, I know. The Santa killer spitting over his shoulder and saying not enough guns not exactly the same as saying Duckman going, what the hell are you staring at? Because that's literally as long as it takes.
But I would love to see that comic book animated. I've been saying, awesome. I mean, you heard me rant multiple times. I was pissed when they did a live action. Not even going to get into that.
I didn't even look at it.
We knew if they did animation, dude. Existence. I bet the team that did Spawn could have done an awesome job with that fucking book. Do the whole thing. Somebody throw down the fucking money. God damn it. Seth Rogen was one of the ones that pushed it. Why didn't he push for animation? But I'm not a fan of everything about him. So it's what it is. Nobody's perfect. At least he tried. He wanted to bring recognition to that amazing story, the modern day Odyssey.
I like how you put it, but I also like how I put it.
How was yours again? Because I know I've repeated.
Just the greatest story ever told. It's got everything.
Yes.
Absolutely everything.
It's one of those things I felt like I didn't overhype. Because I remember, you know.
I probably do overhype it. It's got love. It's got religion. Got car chases, car thieves, racism.
Dude, when they take breaks and go into side stories, and those end up interlinking into the
zombies, fucking just every fucking thing. Special forces units, just everything. Whatever it is you like, it's in there. Just read it for long enough, and it's in there.
Dude, I kind of wish I got to read it as it was coming out. But it would have driven me insane, man.
I couldn't have done it.
Oh.
Dude, I could barely read it when you were giving me the graphic novels.
Oh, I started giving you, 2 or 3 at a time?
You gave me one, and then I started getting them from you 2 or 3 at a time, and every time I came to your house, I just asked for another 3 until I fucking finished it.
Dude, after I read the first one, that's how I ordered them. I'd ordered 2 or 3 at a time, depending on how my paydays were.
I know we've covered this, but yeah, that's it's the greatest story ever told, and if done correctly, which is panel by panel how the comic book is, it would be the greatest fucking animated series ever.
People would watch it. It would make money. I hate to go at it like that because it would cost.
Hey, well, guess
but
what?
It would be worth it. People that want to make money off of that, that's their business.
I've seen 2 examples of how they fucked it up.
Yes.
Well, no, I've only seen 1 example how they fucked it up, and because I saw that example of how they fucked it up, I won't watch Preacher. But, yeah, we've talked about this, I'm sure. The Walking Dead. I'm sorry. you have those people who are like, man, I'm a big fan of it, and I like this and I like that about it. And it's like, well, if you like the comic book, why don't you read the comic book? And I was like, well, you have a storyboard. You can pick up the storyboard at any Barnes and Noble. It's right there. It's already written for you. Just put living people in the panels. Why are you fucking it up? Why'd you fuck it up after the first episode in season 1? Shit on it. Fuck that shit.
Let me tie it, and I'm with you on that. We watched it when it, certain things happened. We stopped watching it pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
Now, another Robert Kirkman book, and I saw it first because going back to animation. This is where animation is better, I think, for recreating, comic books, especially ones with a really good story. Invincible. And I saw some of the cartoon, and I went and read some of the books online and stuff. That's a Robert Kirkman one. Okay. That's why I'm linking it.
Now I've watched the entire. Well, I think that they've got a continuation of The Boys.
Well, now that was Garth Ennis, but yes.
I know that, but I'm saying like
that was pretty good though, from what I saw. It's different though.
I haven't read the comic books compared to seeing the show The Boys, and I have seen a majority of the first season of Invincible. Do you have a comparison between the graphic novels of Invincible and the show Invincible?
I don't have a physical copy of the comics.
Well,
I've read them online. I thought it was pretty close,
fine.
And it was really good from what I watched. Now, I started reading further into the story and the comics and the shit that happens, and it eventually does end, and it's like, what the fuck? I don't know if the show will be able to continue to get all that in there, It does eventually end, but if they did, it would be pretty awesome if they kept it going. But it took a long fucking time for season 2 just to come out. I think it finally came out. I haven't watched it yet.
It has started. I haven't bothered to watch it.
Neither have I.
And I don't want to do any spoilers, but I will you know what? This isn't a spoiler. This was something you described to me, and then I had to see it. Anybody who hasn't seen the actual, I think it's Amazon Prime, Invincible, yes. You know what? Hey, look, Amazon isn't paying me fucking shit. As a matter of fact, I'm paying Amazon the minimum amount that I could possibly pay them to see this and also get shit from Amazon Prime, whatever. But the Flash character running up on what's the guy's name?
Are you referring to the scene where he goes into their fortress pretty much?
Yeah, like what's the guy's name? His name isn't Invincible. What's the fucking main superhero?
Oh no, no, Invincible is what his son is eventually called.
Yeah, but what's the guy? The fucking
Omni-Man.
Omni-Man. The Flash character just like runs up on Omni-Man. And he's like super duper fucking. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, people, but he's like throwing punches at Omni-Man's chest like at like machine gun speed. And then it's.
By the way, Omni-Man rocking that Tom Selleck mustache.
I was going to say Freddie Mercury, but that's only because I just recently saw Bohemian Rhapsody. But anyway.
He only had that for a little bit. Tom Selleck always kept
You know what? If Freddie Mercury had lived longer, he probably would have kept that mustache. Anyways. The Flash character's like super punching Omni-Man in the chest, and he's actually doing some damage, and then eventually
you see the blood?
You see him slowing down, and it's basically like he's just smashing his bloodied nubs against Omni-Man's chest. That was fucking brutal. And I know that our listeners are look, I know who most of you are just by process of elimination. Mom, I don't even know if my mom's a subscriber, but Dad, Patsy, Mary, Haley. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's super duper violent. And even though maybe some of you don't really like the super duper violence, you got to appreciate the slow-mo violent animation.
And the storytelling is intriguing.
It's like seeing people die in Saving Private Ryan in slow motion.
God damn.
Very brutal.
Yes.
With a very it's supposed to tug at your heartstrings. You're like, this guy's not a good guy.
Or like when Willem Dafoe gets taken out in Platoon.
Man,
I hate that part, man.
Man, why you gotta bring that shit up? Spoiler alert, yo.
I know it's sad, man. It's like the one movie where he doesn't come off like a dirty motherfucker. Yeah, I know what's behind that smile. You snide fuck.
Then was it Tom Berenger?
Yeah. Oh, man, he was an asshole in that.
We took a total turn from animation, but that's fine. I don't give a fuck. I want to talk about Tom Berenger now. I want to talk about fucking Scarface. Because it's funny because that scar in Platoon was obviously makeup, right? Because it was in the movie The Substitute. But he didn't, did he have this? I think he might have still had the scar in The Substitute. But you know what he didn't have the scar in? Major League.
Yeah. He was just a crippled pitch. Oh, no, catcher. Sorry, catcher.
Strike this fucker out.
You know who else was in Major League? Named Corbin Birdson. Ring a bell? You ever seen The Dentist?
Oh, was that Vaughn?
No. Vaughn was, that was Charlie Sheen.
No. Oh,
he was
God
winning.
damn it. No. Yep. Vaughn was... Was he the guy... I'm sorry, the dentist character. Was he the guy who, didn't want to hurt himself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a total prick in that movie.
I couldn't remember his name.
I can't believe I remember it. I think I remember it because of The Dentist. Part 2. Anyway.
Oh, man. But, it's actually kind of funny.
You really got off that shit.
No.
Sucks. Invincible's good. Again, it's Robert Kirkman's why I brought it up.
Yes. And now you brought up Robert Kirkman to bring up Invincible.
The art is good.
You
the
also...
books are good. I've listened to the stories of those from. The book is fucking amazing.
What else? What else did he do though? You were talking about it as if he had done something else.
Walking Dead.
Well, wait. Robert Kirkman did the. I mean, because I. Damn.
That's his other big book. Oh yeah, I think that's
man, it's fucking
that
me
is
up.
his name, right?
Yeah, no, it's fucking me up because I went to a used bookstore over the weekend, and I found a Max Brooks. I found World War Z.
Oh yeah, and Zombie Survival Guide.
No, I didn't find the Zombie Survival Guide. But I'm going to be getting that next. I don't care. I'll pay full price for that because I got World War Z for $7.50.
Nice.
But nice. But no, I do remember. I couldn't remember who the author was or the animator was.
Excuse me.
But I do. It's all right. I burp right into the microphone all the time. It's great. It's hilarious. People love it. We haven't had any positive or negative feedback.
I mean, nobody commented about how gross it is. So
yeah.
We're doing pretty good.
All I can assume is that when I belch straight into the microphone, that everybody loves it. I don't get negative or positive
I distracted
feedback.
you. Please, what were we gonna?
No.
I
I want to keep continuing about our flatulence into the microphones. Anyways, no. No, that was one of the funny things. I couldn't remember who the author was. But I do remember at the time because The Walking Dead had kind of come out. Those Walking Dead comics had kind of come out. The first graphic novel, at least, came out around the same time. Just burp right into the microphone, dude. Stop. Anyways, had come out at the same time that Max Brooks was putting out Zombie Survival Guide in World War Z. And they had asked him, the author of The Walking Dead, like, oh, did you read any of this? And he was like, no, I don't want that to influence my work at all. You know, he's like, I'm pretty sure it's, you know, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, so I'm pretty sure it's good, but I don't want it to influence my work, you know, and I could see how it would. Definitely. I mean, well, the whole thing about the Zombie Hunter Survival Guide was how to survive the zombie apocalypse, and it was fucking brilliant.
Yep.
And then you had World War Z, which was kind of an anthology that explained the zombie war from the beginning, middle, and end. So you had this story where here's where the zombie plague started. This is where people fucked up and either, you know, flourished or, you know, died. And then you had all these, all of its firsthand accounts, quote unquote. Sorry, because it didn't really happen. Man, I got into I got a fucking nerd boner over this, talking to Leslie about it. Because I had the hardcover when it first came out.
Oh, I remember you and Uriah both got it.
Yeah.
First came
I
out.
had the hardcover. They got stolen by that heroin addict, Elizabeth. Man, I wish I could remember her last name so I could totally call her ass out. Because she also stole my digital camera and PSP.
Damn.
Oh well, doesn't matter. But then I got the audio book, and I mean, star-studded cast. You had Mark Hamill, John Turturro, Alan Alda, fucking Henry Rollins, all doing voice acting for this book, telling the separate stories of all these people. And then of course you got Mark Hamill. The only person I could particularly remember the actor and the name, Todd Wainyo, who told the story from the beginning of the zombie war to the middle of the zombie war to the end of the zombie war. He's like washing dishes at the end of the book. You know, it's like, yeah, hey, we can wash dishes now. We can get back to like normal American life. You know, but it was really good.
That's pretty sweet. I'm curious though with The Walking Dead, just because I don't know I know he was involved with it.
Who's that?
Kirkman, Robert Kirkman.
Well, I
Kirkman,
mean, if he did The Walking Dead like comics,
people loved the way it was. I wonder if there are people that watched that show all the way through and then read the comics. I mean, I'm sure their opinions probably like the opposite of ours. Because I guess there's characters that were popular in that show that weren't even in the comics, but we kind of stopped reading them after the show started, it seemed like.
Dude.
I mean, you started reading that, 2005, 2006, almost
dude,
like 4 or 5 years before the show came out?
I can't remember when I started buying the graphic novels and when the actual show came out. And what I will say is... I'm gonna call it the All Along the Watchtower frame of mind.
Like whether you want the Dylan version or the Jimi Hendrix version.
Exactly. You know, whatever the first one you hear is probably gonna be your favorite one.
I'm kind of back and forth. I mean, but also, you know, you take in both for a certain period of time. It depends on the mindset, man. There's something about that opening Jimi Hendrix riff. I love that one because of that opening riff.
Who did? Who wrote New Horizons first?
Oh, you're talking about Keller and the Keels?
Uh-huh.
It was Jeff Austin from Yonder Mountain.
Exactly.
Who wrote that.
Which one do you like better?
Dude, I like both, but
I heard Keller
and the Keels first.
I heard Keller and the Keels first, and I like Keller and the Keels better.
Dude, they do another song, another Yonder Mountain song, "Winds on Fire." Their banjo player, Dave Johnston, I think is his name. He wrote that one. Heard Keller and the
Yeah.
Keller and the Kills is
Dude,
much better.
It's weird. Whichever one you hear first, man. There's some people who heard Dylan's first, and they probably are like, fuck, fuck anybody else.
I mean, I don't know, man. There's some ties out there. I Put a Spell on You, CCR, Screaming Jay Hawkins. I can go either way. They're both crazy as shit. So
Wait, who did it first, though?
Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Did he do it first? Because
He did it first.
Okay, well, here's
I
a
thought
perfect example of that, because the first
that's
time
reversed with them.
No, because here's the first time I heard it. Neither one of them, Nina Simone. I like Nina Simone's version of "I Put a Spell on You." So you got
That's
three
pretty
different
good,
people. So it has to do with whatever you hear the first. And whatever sounds, it's weird, whatever catches it.
Well, this
for
brings
you.
it back to CCR. What do you prefer? Proud Mary, Tina Turner, or CCR? I think they're both pretty
God
fucking
damn.
good.
See, now that's
But that one, I heard Tina Turner first.
See,
when I was really young.
that's different because I'm not as familiar with that one. So I could play both of those back to back, and pick my favorite. But when you have an amount of time between when you heard whatever you heard the first, and it's like, oh yeah, did you know that? I'm trying to think of something. Well, the best example I can think of is, I probably heard Jimi Hendrix Along the Watchtower before I heard Dylan's.
Is that the one you prefer?
I prefer Hendrix.
It probably is overall better. There's a lot more going on.
Okay, how about
too.
this one? Here you go.
Dylan sounds like
I
the
prefer
demo version.
I prefer Rage Against the Machine's Maggie's Farm over over Dylan's.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Because that's the one I heard first.
All right. I can't have an opinion because I don't remember Rage's. I heard the Dylan.
You don't remember that?
I love the Dylan version. I didn't know Rage
No,
redid it.
dude,
And
they
Rage
did it-
Against the Machine, for certain reasons, gets on my nerves sometimes. But
You
I
know
could
what?
totally hear
maybe-
him doing something
maybe-
awesome musically.
Rage Against the Machine. I mean,
I'll
they
tell
did
you
that
what.
on their
They did
cover
Ghost to Tom Joad. I totally prefer theirs over Springsteen's version. But that's a different bias altogether.
Yeah, well, and maybe it changes. Maybe it changes on how many different versions you hear of a song. Jesus, man. There was you know what? Nah, you know what? I can't even I mean, he did a really good job. Who is the guy? Andy talks about him all the time.
Joe Bonamassa?
No, but he did a bunch of Alice in Chains covers.
Oh, the fucking, oh, god damn it.
He does really good.
No, he does do a
He
good job.
approximates that voice really, really good.
God damn it.
I know, right?
We should know this, and it's a bigger name. In that genre, it's not something I listen to.
Man, I don't even want to.
He does a good job.
I don't even want to say names because it'll fucking.
No, I don't want to sound like an idiot.
I know, right? It's not Jelly Roll, is it?
No.
I'll throw one out there.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck, man. But once again, it's a perfect example of of an age gap, man.
I'm glad she's not she was laughing her ass off, bro. You dumb motherfucker. No.
I don't particularly care, but it's
well, no, it's. I feel like it should be right there, though.
I'm gonna laugh
Anyway.
my ass off if it is.
What?
Because neither one
No,
of
no,
us
it's
know.
no. I know for a fact it's not him. Because
God damn it!
I'm trying to remember the
Hey,
tattoo.
folks, if you're still listening at the almost 1 hour mark, please, Dad, I know you know it. I know you know, Dad. Who did the remake of the Alice in Chains? No, he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. That's why I laughed at the end of it.
Come on, Rylan. No,
Yeah,
sorry.
I know, right? Hey, don't say my dad's real name, bruh.
Sorry, bro.
You know what's funny? That's a name. That is a name right there. I don't know many Rylans.
Yeah.
I know, right? I almost want to think like when my mom and dad were like coming up with a name for me. It was like, I want to do like Rylan Payne the Third. Like it's probably my dad's idea, and then I was like, no. Let's take out the L.
She gives him a scowl.
Let's take out the L and the D.
What if it was a step further? Like, nah, not doing that dumb shit. No.
Man,
Just
you know
kidding.
what? Man,
God damn.
I'll have to ask my parents about that one. Why am I named Ryan?
How do you think I? Oh no.
You have a weird middle name.
Well, that's what I was about to bring up. One of my parents.
I
was
like your middle name.
Where the hell did you come up with Stush? Oh, well, that's
You say
kind of
that
how.
on-
That's how they said your grandpa's name. Like, you know,
That's-
it was Serbian language.
Does that say that on your driver's license?
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
You know how many times I've heard, "What the fuck is Stush?" I don't mind
Fuck
it.
'em. I like it. You should go by that. You should go by your middle name. Stash Radakovich.
That was my. Everybody called him Stan. I guess Stanley is.
Oh, okay.
Is the Americanized name, but everybody called my grandpa Stan. But apparently, I said apparently a whole bunch. He Stush was his name. That was his birth name. Fun facts. Yes, Serbian. It's always a dark cloud over that. I don't get it, man.
What about the Serbian people as a whole?
It's weird, man. That apparently there was a top 10 list, and apparently Serbs are like in the, you know, they fluctuate between the top 3 of like okay groups of people to hate for some reason, even though they're not known for hateful shit. There's some shit in '98 blamed on them, but
Nah.
I've also heard people say be careful what you read in the news, but I don't know. I stay out of it. I don't know. It's weird. It's so
Hey,
tiny.
man. It's cool.
It's one of them
Ryan-
sections of the world that's been broken up into sections a million times and combined with other countries. That shit
Ryan
causes stuff.
Michael Payne. Anglo as fuck.
Sounds American as apple pie.
It sounds Anglo as fuck.
Hey, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Don't say that like it's a negative.
I'm a wasp. I've got that Maine marble mouth.
50% of me is Slavic. Little Serb, little Czech.
Man, you know what? We didn't put this out. Well, I say we.
I believe a little Italian, a little Irish. So
I say we, but mostly it's I. I didn't put out our last video on taxes, and you know what? It's fine because it's still relevant. Because
it's very relevant.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I will say a little update on the taxes. I guess for both of us is I did make a comment where people were talking about how they didn't receive a refund. I got me a decent little hunk of chunk of change. Probably gonna stock up on they're not a sponsor yet, but any ammo company. I did. Hey, it's all right. Yeah, it's all right. But no, I got a refund that was, you know, what I usually get around this time of year. So it's no big deal. And while I can't remember exactly what I was gonna say because the dogs are barking and it's throwing my head off.
Well, I got to throw blame on one. There was both earlier, but now it's just
It's all right.
Yeah,
It's all right. Hey, you know what? We can't have an episode without.
Stop it, handsome Dan. Exxon. Sorry for shouting. I just ruined it.
It's funny, you know. It's like they had the pipe in at the beginning,
and then
yeah, right again. That's all right. It's cool. Excuse me. See what I was talking about?
What's that?
It's liberating. Just burping.
Oh
right
yeah,
into
it's
the
like
mic.
you're just releasing the toxins, the gases. It's like, oh yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we did make an episode where we talked about taxes and where we were both. Well, I kind of put the idea in your head that we should be concerned about paying the United States government any amount of money for anything that we did differently, which really wasn't anything. But anyways.
No, they could go to hell. They're throwing it all to bullshit anyway, it seems like. Don't mean to go there. A lot of it's bullshit.
You know,
a lot of it's waste.
You know,
a lot of it's for themselves.
You know, the funny thing is that surprisingly, you know, I'm able to do my I do my taxes through IRS.gov, you know, IRS.gov. If you want to sponsor us, that's fine. Once a year.
Hey, and I don't mind paying taxes when it goes to. Why can't it go to more of the good of the country, helping us all out? I get it. I get. There needs to be some of that to kind of make things work. But when everything goes to stuff that's not here, or to people that don't contribute at all, not trying, and I'm talking about people just crossing over, just getting here and getting handfuls of money. Don't know if I should go there or not. Not wording it wrong. Do it the right way. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, as far as stuff like that goes. Yeah, when there are obvious things, and it's not even
dude.
like,
When people come over and they're not here legitimate, and they get free health care, and then there are people here that are poor, they can't afford health care. It's,
dude, I saw
that's a big one, man.
I don't. You know what? And we will have to.
Didn't mean to get all deep.
No.
It's fucked up.
We'll have to make this a different. We'll have to make this a different video because I did see. I did see some YouTube shorts of like a homeless man in some city, and he was very pissed off that he wasn't able to get into some sort, like, basically he was very upset that he as a homeless American couldn't have access to these facilities that our tax dollars are going to funding, you know, basically people who are claiming things that may or may not be true. You know, but yeah, it's like you've got this homeless guy on, let's say, the streets, like, for, because I can't remember, let's say, for argument's sake, the streets of New York, and they're offering apartments to people who, you know, basically through dint of making it across this imaginary line, we're able to access all of Americans' taxpayer-funded facilities where we have people who are struggling, who have grown up here their entire life. And, you know, look, man, I know how it goes. I'm gonna make a small joke about this, but it's like, you're at a stoplight as you pull off to an exit, and you see let's say the age is anywhere from, let's say, 27 to, I don't know, 47, and they're holding up a cardboard sign saying, "I need help." And, maybe they do need help, maybe they don't need help. That's irrelevant. The fact that they're there and they need to rely on the goodwill of people pulling on or off of an interstate, while there are people who don't necessarily belong here, just crossing a border, whichever border. We only got two that I know of. And they're able to get access to medical facilities and housing facilities. And once they get a foothold here, they can get other members of their family from whatever country they came from to also get a foothold in this country. Yeah, it gets a little clouded. Man, we really took a left turn from Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah.
But no. You know what? I'll tell you what.
That's where this shit goes sometimes, though.
I'll tell you what.
To be continued, I guess.
Well, it will be to be continued
at some point.
But it will. You know what? I'll tell you what.
I want to get back to the cartoon.
The cartoon thing will be to be continued, but this last little bit will be to be continued first.
Indeed.
So, yep. Once again, folks, we appreciate you listening. Everybody have a good night, and I don't know. I'd love to say God bless, but
Baba Ganoush.
There you go. Bosh. Boom.